I just walk in the argument too one-way, why you mad? Girl, why you was sick? I do not want that. Came home to you only, you stuck like glue. If I caught that Hellcat, girl, you get one too. For me and you, I want you, I love you. Can I touch you? I rub, let me love you. Put my dreams to the side only cause I trust you. Girl, I trust you, I love you, won't judge you.
What's going on? SEVelocity back at it again with another new episode to talk about. Sorry, did not mean to get that Knicks jersey in the frame. It was an accident. Um, just like it was an accident that they just plowed over the Sixers the other night. But here we are, another week, another win, another day, another win, and we move forward. So how are you doing? You doing okay? What's up, Sean? Didn't see you there. Uh,
I'm sick and tired of saying that I'm not sorry, just because we're trying to remain appropriate, I'm not gonna use the phrase that I normally use to refer to what that team, the Knickerbockers, what they represent, because it's sure in New York City. But I won't but I won't use the word that I like to use just for the sake of being appropriate. Yeah, I'm sick to my stomach. I'm convinced I'm not gonna make it till New Year's because my stomach's probably gonna pop open and I'm gonna burn myself my own hydrochloric acid. Of course, the stars had to align for you, and be like 2 days before the game, and beat out because he tested positive for COVID. Wow, like normally it's injuries with him, but COVID.
you know, um, so actually, real quick, I'm assuming Philadelphia doesn't have the vaccine mandate that New York has, like Kyrie. Just out of
I
curiosity.
don't I
I'm
don't
assuming no,
think
right?
so.
Yeah.
I don't think so. No,
Um.
but I'm pretty sure he is vaccinated.
Oh, okay. And you just probably tested positive. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no better feeling than having to do a second take and get to take out this Knicks jersey again because there was technical difficulties. So to get to relive and just talk about the Knicks winning again, just it makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside. Um,
Enjoy it while you can.
moving on to football as usual. I just wanted to get that Knicks stuff out there. We will get to basketball as usual.
There wasn't bold enough to bet on it though. You would have won.
I know. I should have realized that Embiid was out because that would have been the easiest bet in the world. I
Just
think
anytime you want to bet.
Big Ben could have dropped 40 for you guys if he was on the court.
Yeah, Ben Roethlisberger. He would have a better shot of doing that in basketball than that other one does.
Oh man. So talking football, um, going straight into it. We'll start with Thursday. Colts versus Jets. Jets defense didn't show up. Backup quarterback who threw for 400 yards, Mike White, making his second start, gets hurt 10 plays in, hurts his wrist. Third string quarterback Josh Johnson comes in, throws for 300 yards, plays pretty well, but the defense just didn't show up. Gives up 45 points very early into the game. Jets lose. Um, I thought this was a game that the Jets could have easily won, or if they played correctly, but the defense did not show up. And we have an easy schedule too. Outside of the Bills, we face the Dolphins and the Texans soon, which those two teams are just faced off today. Both one win each before Sunday night or Sunday football. So I thought the Jets could have won like three of the next four, and here we are losing the first one right away. No worries. We take it, move on. Patriots versus Panthers. Mac Jones and company gets the job done against the Panthers. Sam Darnold might be seeing ghosts again through 3 picks versus the Patriots. Christian McCaffrey makes his return at 50 rushing yards, a few receptions. The big thing in that game was Mac Jones went to go make a play and went to go tackle someone thinking they had the ball and twist their ankle, which some said was intentionally. I know Panthers defenders started making comments after the game saying how dirty of a play it was. We'll see if Mac Jones gets fined or suspended. Doubt he'll get suspended because he's a quarterback and they don't do that. But hopefully at least a fine. And it's the Patriots, so they don't usually do that either. Anyway, moving on to the Browns versus Bengals. I think a lot of people expected the Bengals to win this game, or at least for it to be a close game. Odell Beckham just left the Browns. Not that he was making a huge difference, but Baker Mayfield's been having some shoulder issues. Browns haven't looked exactly who they were last year. Browns win 41-16. Joe Burrow threw 2 picks. Baker Mayfield threw 2 touchdowns, I believe. He gets the job done. Nick Chubb plays great game at running back. Had 140 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. Good for him. They move on to be 5-3, as well as the Bengals to be, 5-4, and the Bengals move on to 5-4 as well. I believe that is tied for first in the division. Yes. So the division. The Baltimore Ravens are 6-2 in the division. Pittsburgh is 5-3. Cleveland and Cincinnati are 5-4. So very close division, probably the closest one in the NFL outside of the AFC West with the Chargers, Chiefs, Raiders, and Denver. Speaking of Denver, Denver absolutely gave Dallas the business this Sunday. They got steamrolled. They got humiliated for a team that was 6-1. There was no excuse in Dallas to get smoked like that.
So in other words, Shay Sharp smoked Skip Bayless.
Yeah. Skip got clowned, and he deserved it. I'm glad. I wish Kendrick Perkins was a Cowboys fan too.
He is a Cowboys fan.
Just made my night. Thank you so much. That's all I needed to hear. Kendrick Perkins is a clown. So, moving on. I think we all know that. Texans versus Dolphins. Garbage versus garbage. 1-7 each. Tyrod Taylor makes his return after being hurt the last 6 games. Back up to Deshaun Watson while he is out. Threw 3 picks in his return. Did not look too great. Dolphins backup Jacoby Brissett filling in for Tua Tagovailoa. Threw for 250 yards, played a decent game. They get the win. Not too much going on. Falcons versus Saints. Falcons were up most of the game, and the Falcons played like the Falcons do in the Super Bowl and every other game. They play good for 3 quarters, and then they don't show up in the 4th. Almost blow the entire game, but they still get the win over the Saints, and Trevor Siemian filling in for a torn ACL Jameis Winston. Siemian and Kamara. Siemian threw for 2 touchdowns. I believe Kamara had one. Close game. Siemian played pretty well for third stringer. We'll see if Taysom Hill returns soon. Falcons get the win. Matt Ryan had 350 passing yards. Kyle Pitts played well. And moving on to Raiders versus Giants. So, Raiders versus Giants. The Raiders were doing very well. I believe they were 5-2 at one point. Yeah, they were 5-2 coming into the game. They lose to the Giants 16-23. Giants, Xavier McKinney, safety, had 2 picks. Great game overall by the Giants defense. Stopped the Raiders late in the game. Raiders lose. I want to point out that this has been a very interesting experience with the Raiders. Raiders lose John Gruden 3 weeks ago, or John Gruden resigns after racial remarks that were found from the last 7 or 8 years, from the emails from the Washington football team and that whole investigation. So he resigns, which he likely would have been fired anyway, but I think they allowed him to resign. Next, Henry Ruggs has a death resulting in, or a DUI resulting in fatality, where he was drunk driving twice over the limit and killed a 23-year-old woman and her dog. A tragic scenario. Derek Carr came out and said that people need to love Henry Ruggs, and it's something that he's very regretful for, and is thinking a certain way about himself, and he said that he just needs love and support at this time. He's facing 2 to 20 years because of that. That Nevada state's DUI by fatality is 2 to 20 years, which is a very high sentence compared to other states. We'll see what he gets. He's currently out on bonds, awaiting trial. It should be expected that here's my thing. I think he should get 2 years. I think that anyone, because he's our age, so I think anyone our age can make a terrible mistake. I'm not saying that you should make that mistake, but especially when you make so much money, you can always hire someone, Uber, anyone to come pick you up when you're driving. but it's you live and learn. As awful as it is, I hope I hope that he can get 2 years or a very minimal sentence, come back out and be able to play football again. I think that it's a process, but he can get there, and he's very talented, so I hope that goes well. Just a small lapse in judgment, and then going to Damon Arnett. Threatened John Gruden on Instagram Live. He had a gun on Instagram Live and threatened to kill John Gruden. I didn't get to see the full video. I don't know what he was threatening him over. It could have been his comments, could have been anything. He gets cut. He was a 2020 first round pick, so that's a very early pick to be cut, especially in the first round. But bad comments. As a result, he gets cut. They said that was irresponsible. He'll likely get another chance on another team, just a different change in environment. We'll see where that goes. But the Raiders are in tough waters right now, and all that's left is really Derek Carr, the quarterback, to just kind of answer to the media. He's the only guy that's been there for all of this. He's been there for Henry Ruggs and John Gruden's career. Damon Arnett too. Derek Carr's been there 5 or 6 years, and now someone that's not usually that vocal is here to answer all the questions of all these things that are happening around him. So I feel for him. I know there's a lot going on at the Raiders. We'll see if they can recover. Moving on to the Bills versus Jags. As expected, the 1-7 or 1-6 Jags beat the top of the league Bills, or one of the top 3 teams in the Bills. Both teams looked absolutely atrocious. Very defensive game. Defensive Josh Allen wrecked offensive Josh Allen, so it was good to see. I'm an underdog guy, so anytime the underdog wins, it's entertaining. So it's nice to see them get the win. That's also the Jaguars, or the coach Urban Meyer's first win. We talked about Urban Meyer, right? How he was the Jaguars coach who went clubbing in Ohio after the game and didn't fly with the team. Yeah. He gets his first win on American soil because his only win was in London. So this is the first time he's won in the NFL in the U.S. So good for him. We'll see if he turns it around. I can't imagine he keeps his job at the end of the year because he's very reckless and irresponsible. But great game, coach. We'll see where it goes.
He's living life.
Yeah,
he's still young at heart.
Yeah, he's sure living life, even if it's at the expense of his wife and kids. Anyway, moving on to the Ravens and Vikings. This was a really good game. I watched some of this game, not all of it, but the Ravens were down 24-10, and they won 34-31 in overtime with another Justin Tucker kick, who kicked a 66-yard field goal for them earlier in the season to get the win. Longest kick in history. Lamar Jackson gets it done in overtime, leads the team down the field into field goal range, gets the win. I do want to make a small statement because there was a lot of comments on ESPN and a lot of sports analysts that, what's all this talk about Lamar Jackson not being able to lead his team to a game-winning drive at the end of the game? Lamar Jackson's phenomenal, and he can absolutely do that. But I think we failed to mention that he threw a pass, and it was tipped and picked off at the beginning of overtime, and the defense stopped the Vikings, and Lamar Jackson got another chance and led the team down the field. So shout out to the defense for also being able to stop them and get the win. But Lamar Jackson did play phenomenally. He also had 120 rushing yards with 270 passing yards. 3 touchdowns. So great overall game. They also have the retirement gang at running back. There are 2 running backs tore their ACL earlier in the year, and they have Le'Veon Bell and Devontae Freeman, who are both in their mid-30s, which is very old for running backs. They both played pretty well. Ravens get the win. They're at the top of the division now. Steelers and Bengals close behind. We'll see how that ends up going on. Chargers versus Eagles. Shout out to Big Nick, who was at the game. Got to watch firsthand as the Chargers beat the Eagles. Mr. Eagles fan. Jalen Hurts had 170 passing yards, 1 touchdown. Justin Herbert, Chargers quarterback, had 360 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, looked really good. Keenan Allen with 104 receiving yards and 12 receptions. Close game, 27-24. Chargers get a win after sliding a bit and having, I believe, a 2-game lose streak. So they've moved to 5-3. Eagles moved to 3-6 after dismantling Detroit last week. Couple more games left. Packers versus Chiefs. This was supposed to be a dream matchup. Aaron Rodgers versus Pat Mahomes. I'm sure, as none of you know, Aaron Rodgers got COVID. Obviously, we haven't heard that at all in the media. I'm joking, obviously. Jordan Love steps in. This is supposed to be Aaron Rodgers last year because he doesn't want to be on the Packers anymore. So we'll see what team he goes to. But Jordan Love is supposed to be. He was drafted in the first round a couple of years ago, and Aaron Rodgers was upset about that because anytime a replacement's drafted in the first round, the highest round of the draft, and you're still in the prime of your career, it's a little bit annoying. So Jordan Love is expected, but that's what happened with Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. So Jordan Love got to make, a start this week to see how he would potentially be in that system next year. He did okay. He had 190 passing yards, 19 to 34, one touchdown, one interception. And I know a lot of people were flaming him, but hey, it's a process. No one's going to be perfect early in their career or in their first few starts. It takes a lot of adjusting. Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre, they were rough to start too. So we'll see where they go. The Chiefs won 13-7. Mahomes only threw for 170 yards. It's got to be said this has to be Mahomes' worst year.
Didn't he get injured like a few weeks ago?
Slightly, but nothing big. But he usually passes for 300, 400 yards a game. He passed for 170 this week. He's been regressing quite a bit. It might be a fluke. It's just he has not looked the same this year versus any other year, and we'll see where it goes.
Or who knows? Maybe the old Max Kellerman quote. He's on the cliff.
Oh my gosh.
The early cliff.
I don't know where it leads them because you can't bench him. You just paid him $500 million, but and you shouldn't bench him. But no one, either they got figured out or they're not playing well. And I think it's a bit of both. Because you can't just heave the ball 50 yards down the field every play like he does. Now, moving on to the Cardinals, 49ers. Kyler Murray did not play this week. Colt McCoy came back up, stepped in, went 20. He threw 26 passes, completed 22 of them for 250 yards and a touchdown. Played pretty good. Garoppolo had 320 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. But the main focal point was James Conner, the running back for the Cardinals, stepped in. 21 rushes for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, as well as 60 receiving yards and a touchdown. So he had 3 touchdowns total and 180 total yards as running back. So great performance from him. DeAndre Hopkins was out as well. They'll both be likely to return next week. Cardinals move on to 8-1 with their only loss to the Packers. 49ers slide to 3-6. We'll see where they are at. The coach for the 49ers, Kyle Shanahan, very well liked. Everyone thought he was a genius. He could set up all these different offenses and plays. He actually has a very bad record over the last few years, so I'm curious to see if he gets fired or finally address that he's not coaching well. But we'll see where that goes. Now for the final 2 games, Titans versus Rams. Titans, the truck himself, Derrick Henry, is out with a foot injury. He will be out for the next 10 weeks, if not the entire season. With that said, that's King Henry, best running back in the league. Going against the number 1 defense in the Rams. Tannehill steps in, goes 150 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Very mediocre game. Not great. Not much running either from them. The split backfield between 3 different running backs that each had 20 rushing yards each, so around 65 rushing yards. Good defensive game. They picked off Matt Stafford twice. One was a pick 6 for Kevin Byard. The Rams were heavily favored to win this game, especially without Derrick Henry on the Titans. But the Titans end up getting the win 28-16, as the Rams also just traded for Von Miller. In football perspective, in football terms, the Rams literally have the big 3 on defense. They have the number 1 corner in the NFL in Jalen Ramsey, the number 1 pass rusher in Aaron Donald, and now one of the top 2 edge rushers in Von Miller, who came from the Broncos. So that team is stacked on defense. We'll see where they go, but rough start for them. Both teams are now 7-2. I would like to also note one of those two Titans losses is to the New York Jets because we only beat good teams when it doesn't matter. Um,
Stand up New York.
Fun fact: the Rams were, I believe, 12-2 last year, and the Jets were 0-13 or something at the time, or 1-13. Sorry, at the time. And if the Jets ended at 1-15, they would have had the number one pick and Trevor Lawrence, who's the current Jaguars quarterback. We beat the 12-2 Rams when we were 1-13, just so we didn't get the number one pick in the draft, and that's how we got our current rookie, who is very mediocre this year. But again, it's a process. Hopefully, he gets better. But love that. We only win when it doesn't matter. Now, moving to the final game of the week, Bears versus Steelers on Monday night. Great game. I got to watch most of the second half, if not all of it. Steelers get the win 29-27. Justin Fields looked pretty good, though. He had 300 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. There was a lot of hate against Justin Fields early in the season and during the draft that he was not going to be good enough, or some people said that he was overrated. Some people said this is ridiculous, he's underrated. He ends up being the 4th quarterback drafted in the first round. He does well. Not enough to win, though. David Montgomery returns. Big Ben gets it done, though. 2 touchdowns, 200 passing yards. Touchdown from the rookie running back Najee Harris. And they win 29-27 and move to 5-3. Sorry, that's a lot to take in. That is a lot of talking. I apologize. But it was an interesting week of football. A lot of headlines. There's some interesting taunting calls too. That's been a very common trend. Everyone hates the taunting calls. It's a 15-yard penalty. You can kill a team's entire game just for saying a couple words, not even doing anything physical. So we'll see where that goes because there's been a ton of complaints this week, especially. And that's pretty much it. Oh, actually, the perfect way to transition from football to basketball, we could talk about boxing. Because Darren Williams, former basketball player, is going to be boxing Frank Gore, former NFL player, in Jake Paul's next match card for boxing.
Wow. Are we going to see another Nate Robinson?
Well, here's the thing. Supposedly Darren Williams owns his own mixed martial arts center. I don't know if that's true. I read that in a comment that he's like really big into that. But he's also, no disrespect to him, he's a lot smaller than Frank Gore. Frank Gore was a running back who has a ton of rushing records, and he was a running back till he was like 37, 38 years old, which is very old to go and stay as a running back. But that man's like 250 pounds, like all muscle. So I cannot understand how Darren Williams is supposed to win, even if he is a mixed martial artist. But we will see. I could be wrong. Could be tired out quickly. But I'm excited for that. I'm curious to see how that fight goes. So, basketball. What do we want to talk about? By the way, your Sixers are up 2.
I know. I see it. I still don't. I'm still not confident because we know what the Sixers like to do. They blow leads, but just an update on that. Evidently tonight, on top of Embiid not playing, neither Seth Curry or Tobias Harris.
So I see why Maxi's got 27 points then.
Yeah.
I think
we're gonna beat the Bucks tonight. I think they will.
I want to.
I gotta also say, I know I flame Andre Drummond heavily because of how useless he was on the Lakers.
Give the man credit.
Yeah, on the Sixers, like in reality, he's not a bench center. He's a starting center. So we have 2 starting centers. So when Embiid's not there, Drummond can go out there and pick up like a lot of the slack that they're missing from Embiid.
I think
so he's doing his role perfectly for the Sixers.
I think he's telling everyone that he's still one of the best rebounders in the game.
I don't think anyone ever really diminished that.
Well, when the way he played on the Lakers, you would think that he wasn't.
I mean, he
just wasn't utilized correctly.
Yeah, he also wasn't getting as much playing time.
So I want your thoughts on something. Tyrese Maxey, is he a starting point guard in the NBA?
I think so.
I agree.
Yeah.
I just wanted to see
Yeah.
your take on it. I think that he could be. I think realistically he could be a top 20 point guard. Top 20. I think that's a realistic spot to
I
aim
gotta
for.
watch
He's
it.
not there yet. He's top
Yeah.
32 right now, I would say at least.
I mean, expanding the list that much, like it's actually hard for me to even go that far in ranking players. But
Well,
yeah,
like
but that's fair enough.
there's still a couple bench players that would take over him, point guards, like Derrick Rose,
Derrick Rose, obviously, yeah.
and honestly, right now Ricky Rubio. I don't know
Yeah.
what it is with him and the Cavs, but that man is revamping his entire career with the Cavs.
Hmm.
It's unbelievable the amount of assists he's getting, and then he scores 37 against the Knicks the other night. Oh my gosh. Um, but yeah, I'm curious to see how he does. I'm curious to see if what's going to happen if Ben Simmons comes back. If he ends up.
I was really about to ask if we can we just not to bring his name up, but it's too late now.
Well, like what if he comes back? Does Tyrese Maxey want to stay permanently, or is he going to want to leave once he becomes a free agent and go somewhere else? That'll be my main spot. Also, does Maxey start or does Ben Simmons come off the bench? Is the real question. You don't have to answer that. It's more of an organization question, but I have a feeling that they're still going to make Ben Simmons start because they're afraid of hurting his feelings.
As a matter of fact, stay on that point because I'd seen an interesting post on Instagram. I'm not sure if it was Bleacher Report. I have it right here. It's a page called Trending in NBA. I'm not sure how accurate it is, but the Sixers GM Daryl Morey, he's trying to work out the deal with the Celtics. According to this source, asking for Jalen Brown, Marcus Smart, and Robert Williams um for Ben Simmons and Danny Green.
Brad Stevens better be fired if that deal goes through. Like on the spot.
When I saw that, I was like, Jalen Brown.
That's a joke.
Woo. Imagine.
Yeah. I mean, I can imagine if it was Ben Simmons 4 first-round picks for Jalen Brown, but
Well, Ben Simmons and Danny Green.
here's the thing. I like Ben Simmons on the Celtics. I do. Because the big thing that they're having, they've had team meetings, individual player meetings about how there's a lack of passing between Tatum and Brown and the rest of the team. Marcus Smart has voiced that multiple times.
Yeah, there is no playmaking on that team. That's
Yeah.
been the problem for the past couple years, even with Kemba there and Kyrie there.
I cannot believe that I'm actually going to say I agree with Marcus Smart because there's not a lot to agree with him on, but that is one of those things where absolutely he's 100% right, and they need to figure that out.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird that I look at Marcus Smart as fairly young still, but it's very clear he's like the main veteran on the team. Outside of who do they have? Al Horford too. I mean,
Yeah.
Old man. But like as a vocal guard, he's very vocal, and I appreciate that. I think Ben Simmons fits really well on that team. I can't imagine them losing Jalen Brown and Tatum too. Like I think Simmons is exactly what they need. They need someone who's going to make plays and pass the ball, versus the other two who are going to shoot every shot they get the chance to. I cannot imagine giving up Jalen Brown for Ben Simmons.
And Danny Green.
Because right now Jalen Brown's better to me than Ben Simmons. I'm not as much of a hater as a lot of people are with Ben Simmons, but Jalen Brown's better than Ben Simmons right now.
Yes, he is.
So I don't understand that. We'll see if that deal gets finalized because I can't imagine that should be real. That's a joke.
I'll cry.
What? Oh, Nikola Jokic.
Mm-hmm.
What are our thoughts on this? Because
which one of the Morris brothers was it? Was it Marcus or Markeith? Markeith. But yeah, so I actually didn't see the play, but I heard them talking about it on Undisputed and First Take. So long story short, from what I remember, it was late in the game was pretty much over. Markeith Morris he shoves Jokic, and then Jokic comes back and like shoves him in the back.
Yeah. Here's what I can't understand. Jokic is getting a lot of hate for this, and so essentially, Jokic brings up the ball. He gets fouled at one point, and it was clear that Markieff Morris, when he was fouling him, he put his body into him. It was a somewhat light shove, but you could see he leaned a lot of his weight into Jokic's knee, and
Oh,
Jokic was not happy about that. And Markieff turns around, and then Jokic comes over and he checks him straight into the floor. And then Jimmy Butler proceeds to yell at Jokic and exchange some curse words that you could read the lips on, which, from Jimmy Butler's perspective, 100% agree with it. You should always defend your teammate. And
yeah.
when you're on the team of Markieff Morris too, the foul that he committed and the way he did it, you wouldn't have seen it as a player on the court. So
Yeah.
it was very easy to defend him against Jokic, because Jokic is very blatant the way he just checked him across the basketball
Yeah.
court. But I will say, and I think a few people have made this point, that Jokic, while he shouldn't have taken that step, Jokic didn't start it.
Yeah, well, from what I heard from like all the other analysts, like the only problem that people had with it is the fact that Jokic did it like from his blind side, like from
Yeah,
his back. But Shannon Shannon Sharp was hilarious about it. He was like, if it were me, Jokic would not get penalized at all. I 100,000% condone this. He said, you want to come and check me? Don't get mad because if I check you harder.
I agree. It
Yeah,
it's like the saying, like anyone who's got siblings, if you're gonna go and you're gonna instigate with your older sibling, and you should expect anything you do, whether it be physical, mental, whatever, you should expect anything you do to instigate to get that twice back.
yeah,
You should expect twice as much back in retaliation. So, and that's exactly what happened. Someone on, I forgot which analyst said it, but someone said it perfectly. They said, understand, I don't like what Jokic did, but Jokic doesn't do what he does without Markieff doing what he did first.
it might have
So
been JJ Redick on when he appeared on First
there you
Take
go.
today.
So
Yeah,
I I agree. That doesn't happen if Jokic doesn't get checked the way he did first, and
yeah,
that's all it is. Nuggets get the win, but he still have looked phenomenally.
yeah. Let's go. But again, that was an oh man, just a rough night after rough night for me. I can't wait till 2021's over. These odd number years, man.
Oh, and by the way, the Markieff Morris. So it's brothers of NBA players. Yeah. So Marcus Morris and Nikola Jokic's brothers got into an altercation on Twitter.
Oh
Um,
boy, family drama.
yeah, and that's interesting because they're both talking about how basically they'll. I think it basically was we'll throw hands if we have to. Here, I'll read out the tweets. Marcus Morris said, Mama said don't talk on social media no more. Well, there you have it. I love you, Mama. He didn't say anything. Let me see if I could find the Jokic tweet. Um, Jokic, he said okay. Oh, so Marcus Morris first tweeted, waited till bro turned his back, shaking my head. Noted. That's what Marcus Morris tweeted. And then the Jokic brothers, uh, it prompted them to open a Twitter account. They didn't even have one. And then they went and tweeted, um, you should leave this the way it is instead of publicly threatening our brother. Your brother made a dirty play first. If you want to make a step further, be sure we will be waiting for you. Jokic brothers. Yeah. Well, people have been talking. I guess the Jokic brothers have gone through like the Bosnian War. So they're war torn basically, war tough. So they said we'll see what happens. But it's interesting.
Yeah, it's just because Stephen A brought up this point how people around the league they always like for generations they've always looked at the European players that come in the league as soft,
Yeah,
but
not the case.
not the case.
Even like guys like Vlade Divac who had to deal with Yugoslavia being separated with Croatia and Serbia and all of that. He was right in the middle of that. He was a good player for a long time.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, he's the main point of a bad trade now. I think with Kobe Bryant, but that's all people remember. But he was a good player. Yeah, so that was an interesting scenario. I I'm a Jokic fan, so it's easy for me to be biased, but I completely agree with the fact that if you check me, I'm going to check you straight back twice
Yep,
as hard.
I support it too.
Um, and even if it was blindsided, like I don't think there was any chance of him getting seriously injured. Like he checked him to the floor, but he wasn't like laying him out face first, neck first into the ground.
No, that wasn't the issue that they were taking with. It was the fact that you like, let's say if somebody's like, moving backwards and you come in and give them a good shove in the back, it'll make your neck like
Oh yeah,
snap back, like that
whiplash.
kind of whiplash,
Yeah,
like depending on the
that's fair.
severity of it. Sometimes it's not serious, but even a slight
I could agree with
twist, it
that.
can hurt.
Yeah, that's fair.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, sorry, I don't feel bad for Markieff Morris.
I don't either because the Morphin, they're instigators.
Yeah, I was gonna say the Morris brothers are some of the most hypocritical players when it comes to dirty plays and trash talk.
Yep.
um, and it's funny with Jokic because you could see it a lot too, even with the Sun series last year. He's one of those guys that he'll try to play quietly, but if you trash talk him or if you keep like checking him, he gets frustrated so easily. Like that smack to what was it, Cam Johnson or Cameron Payne? You could see it was mostly ball,
perfect.
but
It
you
was
could,
on the
yeah, I agree.
ball.
But you could see the anger in his slap. You could see when he gets frustrated and livid.
That ref deserves to be fired.
Yeah, I agree. So we'll see where that goes. I think Jokic is going to get suspended, but I'm curious if Markieff Morris is going to get fined too. I think more Jokic will get a 1 game suspension probably. I don't think it'll be anything crazy. What else do you want to talk about NBA?
Well, of course, naturally, we have to talk about the Lakers and my man, LeBron James. He got injured again. It's not a serious one, but this one, I never even thought this was a possible injury, even though in reality you can injure any muscle. An abdominal strain.
Okay.
I'm like, I don't think this happened in game time or what late in game. First of all, I don't even know how you would injure your abs in game time unless it was during one of his workouts
You know,
and he strained himself.
you know what my grandfather said because we were talking about basketball the other day. He goes,
Mhm.
he goes, I don't understand this crap. And I said, what do you mean? I've been watching sports for almost all my life. He goes, and never in my life. He goes, 20, 30 years ago, he goes, were basketball players falling off the floor, dying every 3 seconds. I was like, oh my gosh. He goes, I never seen Will Kareem just walk straight off the court and constantly get injured. He wasn't talking about LeBron either. He was just talking about NBA players getting injured in general right now. But he's like, I can't
Yeah,
understand it.
I mean, I I do in a sense just because of like I think they're conditioning their bodies in a different way now
Mm-hmm.
because
And
like in the older days it was more physical. It wasn't as high flying. It was more about being strong and being an
yeah,
anchor on the court, so they had sturdier builds. Now they're super lanky and agile, but then if they get knocked off balance, like when they're in the air, like, and they land
I
awkwardly, it's easier for them to get injured.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
The only argument I will make with that is how does someone, and I'm not going to say LeBron James because that's not what I'm trying to argue, but any NBA player that's getting injured right now, how do some of them get injured so easily when someone like Michael Jordan had to go against the Pistons for 5 or 6 games and absolutely get bodied every time he touched the ball? Like, I mean, laid out, and he's
Yeah.
perfectly fine. Um, it's just a change. I'm assuming too with the old NBA. I'm assuming there was less games too, so I'm assuming you're playing less and less likely to get injured.
Yeah.
Ultimately, um, yeah, Lakers. I mean
They're
the
looking they're looking
retirement injury
shaky.
squad.
Well, not even that. Well, you can bring up that like LeBron injury. Anthony Davis. I mean, he's been playing. I'll say he's been playing good, not great like we know he can, but he's been playing good so far.
You know who they play
But
tomorrow, right?
he could play better. Who do they play?
It's Lakers versus
The
Heat tomorrow night,
Oh, definitely
10
watching that.
o'clock.
Um, but yeah, Anthony Davis, he's been. I mean, he disappointed me just like 2 games when he decided to score 15 points when I needed his 30 points for my fantasy. But he's been doing fine. Russell Westbrook now, who's been the scapegoat of the Lakers, like every day on Undisputed, they just skipping Shannon, like um pretty much throwing down on Westbrook, even on
Yeah.
first take. Stephen A. saying Lakers need to trade Westbrook ASAP.
This is what they paid him to do. They weren't expecting him to score 35, 40 a game.
That's not what they're complaining about though. It's the turnovers that he's
No.
racking up and the
It's just who would
making.
replace him though. There's no
It's
point guard on
fine.
that team. What are you gonna do?
On the
Chris Dunn?
Rondo. No, they
Oh,
still have Rondo on the team, but
stop it.
yeah. But here's the thing. Yeah, Rondo's too old not to like really play like that many minutes. But when he comes on the floor, when him and Carmelo are on the floor together with like Anthony Davis, like
It's
Rondo, like it looks so fluid, like the
yeah, it's good
combos and
chemistry.
playmaking. Because I mean that's just who Rondo is. But again, he's old. You can't really ask him to carry that load out there. And with Westbrook, we see it's clear as day right now. Despite the fact he's a ball dominant player, he's better when LeBron is there too,
Yeah,
because it minimizes the mistakes that he can make if LeBron is out there demanding the ball sometimes.
and he's still making good passes too, Westbrook.
Yeah, and this is why I always preach, even with his inefficient scoring. Like I hate it when people want to use this Westbrook now to pile on him in his prime, and people want to act like he was not a beast
I
on the court.
I agree with you.
Like I'm just gonna take his driving to the basket for example. These drives that he's taking to the basket, they're not necessarily bad drives. Like most of them are good drives because he can break past defenses better than pretty much every other point guard in the league. It's a matter of him not finishing. Like he's not finishing like he used to at the rim.
For
That's the problem.
for the amount of contact he takes, he's someone I'm surprised that doesn't get injured more often.
Yeah,
He's been pretty tough. You know what's the best
yeah,
part too? Going through the standings and seeing that the number one team in the NBA, outside of the Warriors because they're 9-1, is the Sixers at 8-3, and
yeah.
knowing that two of those losses versus the Knicks.
Oh my god. Yeah, well, shout out to Melo. Like, remember when they assembled this team together, you and I were like well, not really debating, but we were pondering. Obviously, we knew that LeBron and AD were going to be the main scorers, and we thought like maybe Westbrook too. But among like the guys who we really consider role players on the team, I think you said that it would be like close between like Melo and Malik Monk as being like
Yeah.
that role player scoring option. And I said I think he'll 100% going to be Melo, going to be the most important like role player scorer on the team.
Hey, I did remember you did call me crazy when I said he might average 20 a game, and he is
Well,
very close to that.
he's not going to do it all year. But I will say this though: do you think it would be fair to say that Melo could get six man of the year?
I think it's possible. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
I think he's
I
not
say
the
I
number
say
one
Melo.
candidate right now.
Who would you put number one?
Probably Tyler Hero. Hero.
That is right. Uh,
But Melo's
it,
close second.
it's kind of weird. It's because Melo he has like these super reserve games and then explode for these huge games, whereas Tyler Hero it's like he just consistently is somewhere in between.
Yeah, and to Melo's credit, he's averaging 18 a game, this is probably the best Melo we've seen since Knicks Melo.
No, but what we really need to point out is his 3 point shooting. Like he looking like now he's really looking like a pure sharpshooter. Like 'cause back
Woo!
in his prime, he was always an elite like scorer and shot creator that can like heat up and shoot. But now he looking like a
Spot
true
up.
pure shooter. Yeah, we're
And
not seeing him post up and do all of that as much as in the past.
I think what probably happened too is when he signed with the team, I'm sure
Mm.
LeBron and the front office let him know what his role would be exactly, and
Yeah.
you saw the post of him instantly in the gym doing a bunch of stuff, and even the post that they showed him in the gym was him taking just a bunch of jump shots mostly, so it was just him getting back into the rhythm.
I think his mindset also like changed after like all the drama that he went through for
Yeah,
like the past couple years. He probably like got to a better understanding of where he is in his career, what he needs to do. He sees the opportunity ahead of him.
yeah.
Yeah,
I think
and yeah,
Oklahoma City.
and being on the same team as like your best friend from like while
Yeah,
you were kids, like that helps too.
I still would have really. I'd never root for the Lakers to win it all, but I still would like to see Chris Paul be the point guard on that team.
Yeah, I that's what I yeah, both of us wanted that.
Um,
LeBron gets to a ring for his two boys.
yeah, and Carmelo, I think he has been in a sense of denial ever since he left the Knicks. Between like Oklahoma
Yeah,
City,
yeah.
Houston, a small stint there.
I don't
Uh,
think Houston he was in denial. I think in a way, I think Houston screwed him over more so.
well, that yeah, I agree with, and his long stint with the Hawks. He was on there for a day.
he, he
uh,
didn't play a game because he got traded to
yeah,
Houston over the summer.
I
You
think
know,
he was just questioning.
Portland Melo was a good evolution.
Yeah, I think those years before Portland were very much denial. Like I can't regress this much. Like there's no way I'm not a star anymore. And then
Yeah.
um, Portland kind of taught him, hey, there's nothing wrong with being comfortable with being a good role player. And now he's kind of like, well, let me triple down on being a role player and a spot up shooter for the Lakers, and he's even better.
Yeah, I gotta point something out. Yeah, I know exactly why he popped off last night. Because he had to show I'm still the mellow in this league.
Yeah,
It's not your turn yet, LaMelo.
yeah, exactly.
No, but yeah, in fairness to LaMelo, he had a good game. I no pretty great game actually. I have his stats right here. He had 25 points, 15 rebounds, 11 assists,
50 points on
100
your fantasy bench.
yeah, 100%, 100% from the free throw line. This is LaMelo I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, he hit the triple double. Uh, 3 for 8 from three, so that's 37.5%. So that's decent. And he shot inefficiently for the field, 8 for 19, but still he was facilitating well and rebounding. Carmelo now he had 29 points. Um, he didn't really do much passing and like rebounding, mostly just shooting. But yeah, he had 4 for 5 from the free throw line, 7 for 10 from three, and 9 for 13 from the field. So that's 69%. So super efficient scoring game.
Um, I want to talk about another team, if you're okay with it.
Yeah, we can move on.
The Cleveland Cavaliers are 7-4 now.
I'll be honest with you. I still haven't watched any of the Cavs games yet.
You need to. It's
Yeah.
so entertaining because they still have stuck with the two center lineup with Garland or not Garland, Jared Allen and Evan Mobley, who are both 7-footers, and they are 7-4, and they are wrecking teams in terms of rebounds. There is some bad news though. Colin Sexton tore his meniscus yesterday. Yeah,
Oh,
so he's going to be out for the year,
so
or
they lost
majority
their
of the year.
best. So they lost their best player.
Yeah. But Darius Garland's a really good player too, and he's young.
Hmm.
And then
Oh
obviously
yeah, that's
Jared
why.
Allen's good.
That's why they started calling this sex land.
Oh my gosh.
I remember when they started putting that out there.
The good news is their backup is Ricky Rubio, and the way he's playing, he should do just fine. Not that he is Colin Sexton, but he should be a serviceable replacement. But I want to say that if I had to pick a rookie of the year right now, and I know we're only 10 games in, it has to be Evan Mobley. I mean, I liked him coming out of college, and I hyped him up a bunch. I didn't like the Cade Cunningham hype. I even said that Jalen Suggs was better, or I'm sorry,
Mm,
Jalen Green was better. But Evan Mobley is averaging 15 points a game, 8.5 rebounds, and 3 assists a game, and he is um 20 years old, 6'11" center.
Well, what about Scotty Barnes?
What is he doing?
No, as in like, what do you think of him? Like for in terms of like the rookie ladder, do you think he has a chance for rookie of the year?
Yeah, he's what? He's a Raptors player, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think he's a small forward or shooter. I know he's a wing.
Let's look. Rookie of the Year leader right now in the NBA. I want to see where everyone ranks him. So this Bleacher Report 14 hours ago made this list.
Mm,
Okay. Oh, well, it's exactly what you'd expect. One is Mobley and two Scotty Barnes. So,
okay.
and then out of curiosity, 3 is Franz Wagner. Wagner. I don't think it's Franz Wagner. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be German, so it'd be Franz Wagner.
Okay.
He's on my fantasy team, by the way. He's the Orlando Magic small forward. He's been averaging 14 and a half, 15 a game too. He's been pretty good. Um, and then they have Chris Duarte for the Pacers, Josh Giddey for the Thunder, and this is it's the top 7 candidates for rookie of the year, and then Davian Mitchell for the Kings and Jalen Green for the Rockets. Um, no Cade Cunningham either. I mean, he hasn't played much for the Pistons. He's been getting hurt a lot. But I'm not gonna lie to you. Cade Cunningham was highly regarded as the #1 pick for all of last year in college basketball too, and I was not impressed. He was a good player. Don't get me wrong, top 10 player without a doubt. But I could not understand what everyone saw that they thought this is the guy out of everyone in the draft. I really liked Evan Mobley. He was had a lot of
Is it
potential. He wasn't perfect, but he was a big
is it
center and he was good. No, it's not
is it
because of the same
is it
name.
Evan is it
No,
Dave?
but like imagine that Pistons team. So you have Sadiq Bey, who's pretty good, right? He's young, but you have Jeremy Grant and Evan Mobley as your two, forward or your two big men. Like that team would have been so much better than Cade Cunningham at small forward. You didn't need that. You needed another big man. I didn't like that. Um, but it goes to show you why the Cavs are doing so good right now. That big lineup and the amount of games that they're out rebounding people, absolutely impressive. The Wizards are still 7-3 too. I mean, they're
Mm.
killing it.
Sorry, there's a huge game we definitely need to talk about last night. The Warriors versus Hawks.
Oh, that's when Steph had 50, right?
Yep, the chef.
Cooked them.
Like it's funny. It's just one of those things where it just feels so weird saying this about Steph Curry because like like in our era like Steph was like when we saw him like grow up in the league. So he's not old, but like just seeing him as like one of the old school veterans now, he had to take the young boy Trey Young to school. And just back in high school, Steph was like considered still like among one of the young guys just hitting their prime. It's tell me funny how time flies. Let me start with Trey Young. Trey Young had a good game. He had 28 points, and 9 assists. He was 2 for 3 from the free throw line, 4 for 8 from three, 11 for 20 for the field. So overall, good game. He actually started off really hot, but then Steph, I guess, he was like, kiddo, sorry, I'm still here. 50 points, 10 assists, 7 rebounds, 13 for 13 from the free throw line. Now this one is what really jumped out to me. He was 9 for 19 from three, which
Woo!
47%. The reason why that jumped out at me, it just feels so weird like seeing 19 3-point attempts. Like that just tells you the era of basketball we're playing in now. Like imagine a coach back in the Jordan era seeing like their player just going for 10 threes.
Mm-mm.
Or
I
how even five was a lot back then.
I want to also. I know you already gave him credit a week ago, but I want to give more credit to Jordan Poole, who's been very good. And my
Yep.
prediction is when Klay Thompson comes back, Jordan Poole is going to be like Jordan Clarkson to that team.
Oh, he's
For
gonna
what
be
he is
your
for the
sixth
Jazz,
man.
he's going to be a great six man. Like he's going to be one
Yeah.
of the more notable ones. And man, has he looked good. And I still can't believe that Mr. Death Beam pointed at Earth is still getting 20 minutes a game. Andre Iguodala cannot understand that.
I mean, for what it's worth, sure, 6 point, only 6 points, but 3 for 5 to feel 60%. I mean, not not doing that much like offensively, but his plus and minus still was 11. I'm sure he's still a presence there defensively for them.
Oh, and by the way, there's rumors going around that Damian Lillard is heavily trying to recruit Draymond Green to the Trailblazers.
I don't see how that would really benefit them because this version of Draymond, because he's not what he was.
I think it's just more vocal leadership for defense.
Oh,
Because I think
one
that's something that Damian Lillard's kind of pointing out is that defense needs to play better.
Yeah, and one more person we need to talk about on the Warriors. Remember, I always forget his name, but since I'm reading it, J-
Balika,
Jalika,
yeah.
Balika, yeah. I always just refer to him as that stretch big that they have on the Warriors now. 17. Wait, no, that's his plus minus. 17 plus minus. But yes, 7 points, a 2 for 2, from the field, 1 for 1 from three, 2 for 2 from the free throw line, but still a plus minus of 17. He's a super efficient out there for them and helps stretch the floor along with Steph.
There's no one else in that lineup you want to talk about?
Oh no, I definitely want to talk about him. Useless Wiggins.
Oh my God!
He has 13 points. Oh, cool. 1 for 4 from three. That's
But look how
25%.
many minutes he's
And
playing.
5 for 12 from the field.
He did that in 25 minutes.
5 for 12 from the field. That's
He
41%.
put up 12 shots in 25 minutes. Come on.
Yeah, so that's bad. He was shooting too much.
Don't talk about the GOAT like that.
Yeah, okay. The GOAT of, I mean, he had the chance of being the GOAT in the G League.
So Klay Thompson is scheduled to return very soon. I cannot give you an exact answer on when.
The year with Stephen A. Smith said he said right now you think the Warriors are the most likely to win the title if he had to pick.
I mean, if they look this good without Klay, I can't imagine what they look like with him.
Yeah.
And you have the best small forward in the game.
I'm not convinced. Yeah, because he's gonna look at how much time he hasn't he basically missed 2 years. It's gonna
Klay?
be 2.5 years. Yeah.
Roughly, yeah.
Yeah. So he's
But
gonna need to get games under his belt to get
but
back to where he was.
think about it. Defense comes back naturally, right? You never forget how to play defense. So that's
You don't forget, but remember the leg injury he had, so he might feel a bit of awkwardness moving on the
yeah.
court.
And shooting is something that's going to have to just take time to come back naturally.
Yeah.
But like similar to the NFL, the biggest concern when someone has an injury like that is taking the first few bits of contact. Like Dak Prescott had it too. It's always said that once you get that first one or two hits onto your knees, then you realize, okay, I could take these hits. I feel like myself again. But you're going to play afraid until you take those hits. So it's probably going to take some time to adjust.
I mean, I don't think that's going to necessarily be that big a problem with Clay because does Clay do primarily? Spot up and shoot.
Well,
Where he got injured now is, I mean, even though I loved it for a bit, he was stepping out of his element because remember he started saying, "Man, dunking is so much fun."
yeah, and
He
remember,
started doing it too much.
like Tyler Harrow, he is very angry. Or motivated going into the season. He said he's absolutely livid. He cannot understand how he was not in the top 75 NBA players. And he said he can't wait to get onto the court to show everyone. So I think that's a good sign. I think any player that usually says that usually does come up pretty big.
Yeah, the reason why, but I still think it's a bit super bold on Steve Nate to say they're gonna win it all.
I agree. Oh, I agree.
Because of this. Number one, well, I mean, I'm not sure if I said it on here, but you know what I said about like Steph in the postseason, that what we seen in him when he's the number one option. I mean, not the early rounds, but like deeper in the playoffs, like conference final ish and in the finals. I will never ever say he folds up into nothing. No, not to that extent. But the way that we're seeing him so dominant right now in the season, that does not translate into the postseason for him. Like if I were to say in regular season, like he looks like an perennial MVP or like could win MVP every year, and like let's just move on to the NBA Finals. I'm not gonna say he fall down to a borderline All Star. Like he's still above that, but I'll say he's one of those guys. He fall down to like a definite All Star, but not like a guy who you look at as like MVP. But still, he's still gonna be effective out there. But his relying, but I'm just looking at the help he's gonna have around him. Because the reason why they're playing so well right now is because Jordan Poole like is essentially stepping up and filling like Clay's role. But still, he's really young. Is he a rookie or is he like
Jordan
first
Poole,
2 years?
he's been here for a while. He was like their 8th or 9th man like for 4 years, and now he's finally kind of stepping into his
He's
own.
been around a little while. No, this is his second year in the league.
His second year in the league.
Yeah.
Oh, well, he was the 8th or 9th man last year. Then I remember him coming off the bench a lot, but you didn't get to see much of him.
Yeah, he's 22, but yeah, he's never been in the playoffs, so he stepped up his game. But again, he's unproven. Draymond is just, as I said, he's not what he was like back in their like dynasty run.
Even Bjelica or Belica.
Yeah, again, not proven. what's
Um,
it called? Like they look good now, but we have to see how they bring goes translate into the playoffs.
it's solely
And
on Stephen Clay.
oh yeah, because I know for a fact he's not getting the help from the guy who's supposedly supposed to be his second best player. I'm sorry, Steph.
Draymond,
No, no, not Draymond.
Kevin Looney.
Andrew Wiggins. I mean, was he much help with Steph when they were in the elimination round, elimination game against the Lakers? Not really. Mm,
I really hope that there is a scenario where the Warriors make the NBA Finals and Wiggins wins Finals MVP.
well, first of all, that would be the biggest embarrassment in Steph Curry's career. It's the second time one of his role players gets a Finals MVP over him.
It would be deserved. What else do you want to talk about? We got probably like 2 more minutes.
Let's see. I think those were all the big games. Oh, all right, bro. Yeah, we could just debate this now. Well, if it's a debate, who do you feel like is the team that's like struggling the most or looking the most suspect right now between the Lakers and the Nets?
Hmm. I mean, I think we talked about this a bit last week, and I still think my answer is the same. I would still say the Nets because the Nets are more healthy.
Yeah,
You're expecting Kyrie not to be back for the entire year, um, but you still have Harden and Durant, so you should be playing better than you are.
yeah.
Meanwhile,
I don't understand what's up with Harden.
The Lakers have a team of 12 people where or 7 or 8 of them have never played together before,
Mm,
and their star players are switching shifts and being hurt, and they're still doing decently well. So I think that says a lot. I think that they're gonna kind of like the Heat, and I'm not saying that there's a big like a crazy big three or anything, but kind of like the Heat when LeBron first went to the Heat and
yeah,
Bosh and Wade were all together. I think it's just gonna take the first half of the season for them to gel together and get used to things, and then it'll
yeah,
be way more fluent and natural.
yeah,
Because the Nets have already had a year, and this is how they're playing. That's pretty troubling.
yeah. It's ridiculous.
I don't know why they traded Jared Allen. I still can't tell you that.
Uh, Honestly, well, at first I was KD, Kyrie, Spencer Dinwiddie, Karis LeVert. We all thought that was going to be the squad, but now, I mean, well, if Kyrie was still going to keep up with his antics, in hindsight, the Harden trade was good because at least KD does have a co-star by him, but Harden needs to be looking like a 1A. Like he can't
They
be looking like the Robin over there. He needs to be like a real crime partner with KD.
they need to make some trades.
Yeah, because KD's been hella consistent. Like, I can say there's nothing more he can do. Like, given we know what Kevin Durant is, he's doing what Kevin Durant's always
they,
done.
they need more experience on the team, and they need more consistency. They need to trade for people that aren't stars but good role players, and I think that starts with someone like Kevin Love. I know you have Blake Griffin. I know you have LaMarcus Aldridge, but I think Kevin Love would be decent experience and someone who could still capable of scoring on the team, and he has a good passing ability too. They need more though. They need more comfort because you have Kevin Durant and James Harden basically playing between the two of themselves, and you have a lot of inexperience around them.
Yeah, and this is
And
the
and
fact
then
like the
Blake
head
Griffin
coach
and LaMarcus Aldridge, which
and Steve Nash doesn't have like any experience as the coach.
no, Steve Nash should be playing on the court with the way this team's playing.
Yeah,
What a disaster. I will see. I think they need to make a move or two. Uh, Honestly, Ricky Rubio would have been perfect on that team. If he's playing like he is now in just distribution, you make Harden go
hmm
back to shooting guard. You don't force him to play point guard that much, and he just goes and scores 40 a game again. And then Durant shares that with him.
I don't even think that's really Harden's problem. Like he's just not. Well, one, I think for starters, like we know what the rule change, less fouls,
That's
quick
killing him.
fouls, so him not getting to the free throw line. Like Shannon Sharp brought up a good point. Maybe the free throw, the low key, like the key to Harden, like getting himself in rhythm. Like when he started get going from the free throw line, I guess it just warmed up like the rest of his game too.
I thought you were
But
about to say maybe Harden going to the free throw line is a majority of his game, and I was about to say no, duh. because that's how he scores 30 of his 40 points a game. Is at the free throw
True.
line.
I wasn't gonna go that far. Like he puts up like a lot of threes, and I don't, I just don't understand why he's not going to the basket like as much. He should. That's what he needs to do. He start attacking the rim more. Cause like we see him, he literally can shake any defender and get to the rim
I
whenever he wants, and he can finish at an elite level at the rim.
I agree, but I also think he needs to get better at shooting with people in his face because when you have guys like um, LeBron, Carmelo, even Kobe, if you go years back, you have a lot of these guys though who no matter who was covering them, they were going to be able to create separation and a majority of the time make the shot. But like
Yeah.
Harden's good at creating some separation, but no matter what, if someone's close to him, he doesn't make it nearly as much as you would expect him to. Like he's not one of those guys shoot it in your face and he drills it every time. Like I think he needs to get used to that more because he's not gonna be able to I'm not gonna say cry, that's toxic, but he's not gonna be able to turn to the refs and expect every contact to be called. He needs to be able to play through contact and be able to make shots under a heavy defense.
But that's a funny thing too. Like in Houston with the heavy defense, like I hear you on that. But it's funny what frustrated the defense is with this when they closed them out tight and the ref didn't call it, he would make those shots.
Yeah,
But then when on the in the event he misses, then they called the foul.
yeah. We'll see how he goes this year, but right now he's kind of regressed quite a bit.
I really think key for him to attack that rim.
Yeah, they need something. I think if they ran that with James Harden more going to the rim, and they ran a similar big man system to what the Cavs ran, where you have two really big guys playing center and power forward, or like two centers practically, or like what Bobby Portis and Brook Lopez did, I think that team would do way better. Because now you're getting boards and you're getting second chances with your two superstars.
Their starting line, they have a good roster. They should be doing so much better than they are right now.
But Blake Griffin's playing center for them too, right? Like I hate that.
I think LaMarcus Aldridge is.
I hate that still. They're both power
They're
forwards.
really power forward, but Aldridge has actually been doing a pretty good job. Though,
He has.
Yeah.
Blake
And then
Griffin not so much.
but the thing is, sometimes they've been deciding to like play small and have KD
I
at
hate
center.
that. Playing small doesn't work.
Yeah.
Not anymore. Not for this year and last year.
Honestly, the best small ball that we've seen was the Golden State Warriors.
Golden State Warriors or even the Rockets when they ran James Harden, PJ Tucker, Eric Gordon, and
No, no, I'm not giving it.
Robert Covington.
I'm not giving him that. No, because you and I both knew it was a recipe for disaster.
But that team scoring wise did well. Defensively, it was atrocious.
Please, it's about the wins. No, the Warriors. That was the best small ball we've seen.
Yeah, I mean, it was. They still had big men out there though. Like you still had a center. Draymond wasn't playing center.
Oh yeah, that's right. They have Bogut.
Bogut, and then they went to Pachulia, and then Cousins. I know they're not elite, but there was at least a big man on the floor.
True, they had one, but they had an undersized power forward in Draymond at 6'7".
You got anything else you want to add? Towards the end of it here.
Yeah, the Sixers lost to the Bucks.
That's a good way to end it. That's all I needed to hear.
All right, that's all I gotta say. Look forward to. Thank you everyone for watching again. I should say. This was a really late episode, like for a normal weekly schedule, but appreciate you taking the time out to watch. I'm looking forward to tomorrow night's game. Oh, funny, interesting. As both of our hearts about to rip out our chest because the Heat versus the Lakers tomorrow so conflicting. But I'm rolling with my boys. I stand up Heat Nation and burn the Lakers, and the Knicks are playing against the Bucks.
Yeah, Julius Randle will give Giannis the business as usual.
Oh, so it's like that. Are you predicting Julius Randle outplaying Giannis?
I don't know. We don't match up well against the Bucks. We didn't do the first game of the year, but we'll see. I think that Drew Holiday is going to be a huge problem with Kemba Walker and Derrick Rose, but we'll see.
All right, what do you think is more likely to happen? The Heat beat the Lakers or Knicks beat the Bucks?
Is LeBron playing tomorrow?
I don't know.
If LeBron's not playing tomorrow, then the Heat.
Okay.
Other than yeah, if LeBron plays though, then I guess the Knicks.
Ooh, this is gonna be another good game tomorrow too. The Mavericks and Bulls.
That'll be a good game.
Jeez, this is so hard. Sometimes I say I want to watch a certain team, but then the other good games are piled up next to each
Well,
other around the same time.
luckily your game's at 10 o'clock, so you'll get to see a 7 o'clock game first.
True, but the thing, yeah, the Knicks and Bucks are at 7:30. Then the Mavericks and Bulls are at 8. Oh,
Yeah.
the Hornets and Grizzlies are also at 8.
That's only good to see
LaMelo
LaMelo. Yeah.
And John Morant. Yeah. Oh, the Wizards and the Cavs are at 7.
We'll see how Garland does and Ricky Rubio starting.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, without further ado, hope you all have a great week. Thursday night football coming up to 2 days from now. Sorry, thought it was Wednesday. We did start the podcast a little bit late, like he said. There was good things and bad things to it. I like recording on the weekends. The advantage on the weekday is we get to talk about Monday Night Football on the full NFL week. The disadvantage, though, is it's in the middle of the week. So, got to talk some basketball. Really happy about that. Got to kind of cover everything that I think we needed to cover. Without further ado, though, hope you all have a great week of sports, family, love, whatever it is. And would you like to say anything to the people before we leave?
Please like, comment, and subscribe, and tune in next week.
I like the way this guy thinks. Have a good night, and be safe.
To me and you, I want you, I love you. Can I touch you, I rub, let me love you. Put my dreams to the side only cause I trust you. Girl, I trust you, I love you, won't judge you.